Welcome to Storytime Hub, the place where stories come alive. Here, you'll find everything from heart-racing horror and mysterious thrillers to magical adventures and emotional tales. If you love stories that make you feel, imagine, and escape, you're in the right hub. So sit back, relax, and let the story begin. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Storytime Hub for more amazing tales every day. The overnight flight from London to New York buzzed with the usual impatience of tired travelers. Luggage thudded into overhead bins. Flight attendants smiled their practiced smiles, and the air already carried that stale tang of recycled oxygen. Daniel Cross, a 32-year-old businessman with an ironed suit and a restless knee, sat in seat 4A staring at the emergency card. He hated flying. Not because of statistics, not even because of turbulence, but because of the silence between sounds. That pregnant pause when you felt the plane holding its breath. Beside him, Maya Torres slid her carry on under the seat. Calm, steady, a nurse who looked like she'd seen enough real emergencies to make this flight feel like child's play. "You're shaking your leg like it owes you money," she said dryly. Daniel forced a laugh. "Yeah, well, my body thinks we're already crashing." Across the aisle, Liam Brooks stretched like he owned the row. Backpacker, 24. Too loud for the quiet cabin. He grinned at Hannah Reed, the nervous college student clutching her neck pillow like a life preserver. "First time flying," he teased. She shot him a glare. "No. First time trapped in a tin can at midnight with strangers. Same thing," Liam said with a wink. Then he lowered his voice. "At least you're not sitting next to the guy who smells like garlic bread." "That's me." Hannah tried not to laugh, but it slipped out anyway. Captain Douglas's voice crackled through the speakers, calm and professional. "Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard Flight 729. We'll be cruising at 36,000 feet, flight time approximately 7 hours. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride." Daniel muttered, "Easier said than done." The plane lifted smoothly, London's lights shrinking below until they were swallowed by black. The cabin dimmed, a hushed twilight settling over the passengers. For a while, everything was routine. People pulled out books, dozed off, or plugged into movies. But at the very back, in row 34, a man coughed. Hard, wet. It drew a few irritated glances, but no one said anything. Not yet. Daniel didn't notice. Not until the coughing grew louder and longer, like something inside the man was tearing itself apart. And for the first time that night, Daniel's nervousness felt justified. The first jolt of turbulence rattled drink cups and snapped seatbelts tighter. A few passengers gasped, the kind of sharp inhale that said, "I knew this was a bad idea." Daniel gripped the armrest until his knuckles whitened. Maya, calm as stone, glanced at him. "You're fine. Planes are built for this." "Yeah," Daniel muttered. So were the Titanic's lifeboats. Maya actually cracked the smallest smile, though it didn't reach her eyes. From the back, the coughing grew harsher, a long, choking fit that made even the flight attendants pause in their routine. Passengers turned, annoyed but curious, craning necks over seats. Hannah shifted uneasily. "That doesn't sound like allergies." "Relax," Liam said, though his voice wasn't as confident as his smirk. "Probably just got the wrong meal. Plain food'll kill you faster than turbulence." The man in row 34 wheezed violently. His head snapped forward, then back, his body trembling against the seat. His seatmate pressed the call button frantically. a flight attendant hurried down the aisle. "Sir! Sir, are you all right?" The coughing man hacked into his hands. The sound was wet, sticky. When he lowered them, passengers closest to him recoiled. His palms glistened red. "Oh, God," someone whispered. The attendant crouched, voice urgent but firm. "I need medical assistance. Is there a doctor on board?" Maya unbuckled instantly. "Nurse," she said, moving toward the back. Daniel reached out to stop her. "Are you insane?" She shot him a look. Could be choking." Daniel swallowed his protest, muttering, "Or contagious." Another jolt of turbulence hit, rattling the overhead bins. Someone screamed as a bag fell. The cabin buzzed with nervous chatter, people twisting in their seats, eyes darting toward row 34. The man convulsed again, his chest heaving. He gurgled, gasping for air that didn't seem to come. Maya leaned over him, trying to check his pulse. "Sir, can you hear me?" His eyes rolled back. His whole body went still. Gasps rippled through the cabin. Liam muttered, "Well, that's comforting." Hannah clutched her seatbelt tighter, whispering, "Oh my God. Oh my God." Maya shook her head grimly. "Eyes gone." The words seemed to hang in the recycled air. Then the plane went still, no turbulence, no sound except the low hum of the engines. It was like the sky itself was holding its breath. And in that silence, the coughing man's chest rose again. The man's chest rose once, then again. Gasps spread like fire through the cabin. Maya froze above him, her hand still on his neck. His pulse thudded faintly, then stronger, too strong. His skin flushed a mottled purple. Daniel half stood from his seat. "Maya, get back!" Her instincts told her to hold on, to help, but instinct had no place here. The man's eyes snapped open, clouded, not human anymore. With a wet, guttural growl, he lunged forward, teeth sinking into the throat of the flight attendant crouched beside him. The scream cut through the cabin like shrapnel. Blood sprayed against the seatbacks, dark and hot. The attendant flailed, hands clawing weakly before going limp. Passengers shrieked, scrambling away, climbing over seats to get clear. The aisle became a bottleneck of panic. "Oh, holy shit!" Lam choked, pressing himself flat against Hannah, as if she could shield him. That's definitely not choking. Daniel grabbed Maya's arm, dragging her backward, as the infected man tore deeper into his victim. The sound of ripping flesh grotesque in the narrow cabin. Maya's voice cracked. "Hey, he was dead. I swear he was dead." "Not anymore?" Daniel snapped, pulling her toward their seats. The infected man lifted his head slowly, jaw slick, strings of red dripping down his chin. His cloudy eyes rolled over the cabin like he was choosing. The screams surged again. Passengers shoved each other, some bolting toward the front, others toward the rear. Chaos shredded every ounce of order. Another flight attendant fumbled with the intercom. "Everyone, please, please remain calm." She didn't finish. The infected lunged across the aisle, tackling her into the opposite row. Daniel's stomach turned. Creased. Hannah's hands shook violently as she tried to unbuckle her belt. "Oi! We have to get out!" Daniel snapped. "Where?" "We're 30,000 feet in the air!" Liam blurted without thinking. "Parachutes. Or is that just movies?" No one laughed. The infected's guttural growl filled the cabin again as he climbed onto another seat, jaws snapping. His body moved wrong. Too fast, too jagged, like a puppet yanked on strings. Maya whispered, "This isn't possible." Another shriek erupted from row 33 as the infection spread. The bite victim twitched violently. his skin paling, his veins bulging black. Within moments, he sat up with the same milky eyes. Now there were two, and the narrow aisle between them and the cockpit looked shorter by the second. The aisle was a war zone. Passengers shoved, clawed, trampled each other in a blind frenzy to escape Route 34. Children cried. A man shouted into his phone despite there being no signal. Luggage rained from overhead bins as trembling hands ripped them open in desperation. Daniel shoved Maya back into her seat, shielding her as one panicked man stumbled past, blood on his shirt that wasn't his.
"Stay down,"
Daniel barked. The lights above flickered once, twice. Then the cabin plunged into darkness. Screams became one sound, a human roar of terror. Daniel's chest tightened. Not good. Not good at all. Understatement. Maya hissed, clutching his arm. From the blackness came the sound of bodies thrashing, seatbelts snapping, teeth tearing into flesh, the wet crunch of cartilage, the shrill wails of the dying.
"God, oh God."
Hannah sobbed, hugging her knees in her seat. Liam tried to mask his terror with a whisper that cracked anyway. So, this the part where the oxygen masks drop. Or, Daniel shot him a glare, even though Liam couldn't see it in the dark. Shut up. Somewhere ahead, a flashlight beam flicked on. Unsteady shaking. It cut through the dark just long enough to show what no one wanted to see. The infected man from row 34 was crawling across the ceiling panels like an animal, jaws gnashing, blood dripping onto the seats below. The light snapped off. A chorus of screams exploded again. The plane jolted hard as turbulence ripped through the night sky. The floor pitched sideways, hurling passengers against armrests and walls. Someone's head cracked against the overhead bin with a dull thunk. "Sit down!" A flight attendant screamed blindly. "Stay buckled!" Her voice was cut short by a snarl and a wet tearing sound. Daniel dragged Hannah across the aisle, pushing her down beside Maya. He whispered, "We need to move." "Stay low. Stay quiet." "But where?" Hannah whimpered. He scanned the dark, barely making out shadows moving. Too many of them jerking, twitching wrong. Every second, the growls grew louder, closer. "Cockpit," Daniel muttered. "If the pilots are still alive, that's our best shot." "Assuming they are," Maya said grimly. Another jolt rattled the plane, sending trays and cups flying. Someone tripped in the aisle and didn't get back up. In the chaos, Liam whispered with shaky humor, "This is officially the worst trip I've ever booked. Should have just stayed home." Daniel ignored him, scanning for any path through the writhing dark. And then, out of nowhere, the emergency floor lights flickered on, a dim strip of red guiding the aisle. The survivors froze, staring at the blood smeared across the narrow path like a painted warning. The growl came again, louder this time, and closer. The red emergency lights cast the cabin in a hellish glow. Faces looked like masks, blood streaked across cheeks and seats. Every shadow seemed alive. Daniel pushed forward, one hand gripping Maya's arm, the other dragging Hannah by the wrist. Liam stumbled behind, clutching the headrest of each seat like a drunk trying to steady himself.
"Front of the plane!"
Daniel barked. "Move." A cluster of passengers had already gathered near the forward galley, trying to make a barricade out of carts and luggage. Their eyes were wild, hands trembling as they stacked anything they could find. "Let us through," Daniel demanded. One man, his shirt ripped and splattered with blood, held up a trembling hand. No more! Stay back! We don't know who's infected." "We're not," Maya began. "Prove it." Another voice shouted,
Roll up your sleeves! Show us!
Hannah flinched, hugging herself.
We're clean!
She cried.
We're fine.
The man's eyes darted between them, suspicion written deep in his face. Finally, he lowered his arm, motioning them inside. If any of you turn, I swear. Daniel shoved Hannah ahead of him, glaring. Trust me, if I turn, you won't have time to swear. Inside the barricade, the air reeked of sweat and blood. There were maybe 15 survivors crammed together, pressed shoulder to shoulder. Someone was praying under their breath. A baby whimpered, its mother shushing frantically. Maya knelt beside a man slumped against the wall, his arm shredded by a bite. She pulled back his sleeve, her lips pressing into a thin line. Don't, the man gasped, sweat dripping down his face. Don't tell them. She looked at him, pity and horror in her eyes. Daniel crouched beside her. He's gone. I know, Maya whispered. The man's breathing hitched. Please, just let me hold on. A little longer. Daniel's jaw tightened. He looked away. Liam leaned against the wall, trying to breathe quietly. So, anyone else here think the captain has this under control? No one answered. Instead, another shriek ripped from the back of the plane, followed by the sickening crunch of bone. The barricade shuddered as something slammed into it from the other side. The survivors pressed tighter together, eyes wide. Hold it, Daniel barked, bracing one of the carts. Maya joined him, shoving her shoulder into it. The pounding grew louder. Snarls, claws scraping metal. The infected were testing the blockade. God help us, Hannah whispered, tears streaking her face. Liam muttered darkly, God booked a seat in first class. We're on our own. The barricade rattled again, harder. And for the first time since boarding, Daniel wondered if the plane itself would become their coffin. The pounding on the barricade finally subsided, leaving only the ragged sound of survivors breathing. The silence felt heavier than the noise. Daniel's shoulders ached, but he didn't move away from the cart. His eyes scanned the group, lingering on each pale, terrified face. Somewhere in this crowd, someone could already be infected. Maya leaned against the wall, her hair sticking to her damp forehead. We can't keep them out forever. If we burn too much energy holding this, we'll collapse before they even get through. We don't need forever, Daniel replied flatly. Just until the plane lands. A bitter laugh escaped from the corner. It was Lam, sitting cross-legged on the floor, picking at the blood on his sleeve. You really think this plane is landing? Look around, Danny boy. This is our runway. A woman snapped, her voice shrill with panic.
Shut up! Shut up! You'll scare my baby!
Lady, Liam sighed, not even looking at her. If your baby hasn't noticed the screaming corpses clawing at the walls, me saying it out loud isn't gonna break the news. Enough, Daniel growled. But before the argument could escalate, a low groan rose from the slump man Maya had been treating. His eyes fluttered, bloodshot and glassy. His fingers twitched. Maya froze. No, it's too soon. The man's head jerked, jaw snapping open with a guttural snarl. His arm lashed out, clawing the air. Chaos erupted. Get him out! Someone screamed. No, don't let him. The infected man lurched forward, grabbing the nearest survivor, teeth sinking into the woman's shoulder. Blood sprayed against the wall. Her shriek pierced the cabin like a knife. Daniel yanked Maya back, shoving her behind him. Help me pin him! 3 men rushed in, trying to hold the thrashing body down. It took all their strength to smash his skull against the floor again and again, until it finally cracked. Silence returned, except for the woman's sobbing. She clutched her bleeding shoulder, rocking back and forth. Everyone stared at her. Her eyes darted from face to face. "Please, please, don't look at me like that." A man muttered, "She's bitten."
She's one of them now. No, I can fight it,
she cried.
I can fight it.
The crowd pressed back, leaving her isolated. The baby began wailing, the mother shielding its tiny head. Daniel's chest heaved. He didn't want to be judge, jury, and executioner, but the infection didn't wait for votes. Maya gripped his arm. "We can't just kill her."
Not yet.
Liam tilted his head, voice dry. "Why not? She's already on the guest list." The woman's sobs filled the narrow cabin, mixing with the groan of the engines. Everyone knew it was only a matter of time before she turned. The barricade creaked again, as if the monsters outside were waiting for her to join their ranks. And Daniel realized the true danger wasn't just out there anymore. It was inside. The bitten woman's sobbing filled the cabin like a curse. No one could meet her eyes. They all knew what came next, but no one wanted to be the one to do it. The baby wouldn't stop crying. Its shrill wails cut through the air, agitating everyone already on the edge. Finally, a tall man with a shaved head snapped. His voice was sharp, brittle. "We have to throw her out. Now, before she changes." "No," Maya shouted, stepping in front of the woman. "She's still human. We can restrain her until we figure something out." The man jabbed a finger at her. "You want her next to your neck when she turns. You want that baby's blood on your conscience." "Conscience," Liam muttered, leaning against the wall. His smile was hollow, his eyes wild. "Pretty sure that's expired along with the in-flight snacks." The mother holding her baby hissed.
Shut your mouth!
Tension exploded like a spark in a fuel tank. Survivors began shouting over each other, their fear boiling into rage.
She'll kill us all! She's innocent. Better her than us! We can't just murder her!
The bitten woman crawled backward, pressing herself against the wall, her bloody hand trembling. "Please, don't let them." Daniel raised his hands, his voice straining against the chaos.
Stop!
"We're not going to survive if we turn on each other." But his words were drowned out by the crack of violence. The tall man lunged forward, grabbing the woman by the arm, dragging her toward the emergency door. She screamed, kicking, nails clawing the floor. "No! No! Please!" Maya grabbed him, pulling with all her strength.
Let her go. Move.
The man roared, shoving her hard. She slammed against the seats, gasping. Daniel charged, tackling the man to the ground. They wrestled, fists flying. Rage and desperation blurring the line between survival and murder. The barricade rattled with renewed force. The noise of combat must have stirred the monsters outside. The baby's cries rose to a deafening pitch. Liam crouched low, watching the chaos unfold, his voice a bitter whisper. "Yep, we're officially the in-flight entertainment now." The tall man managed to flip Daniel, his hands reaching for his throat. Spittle flew from his mouth as he screamed.
She's infected!
"I'm saving us." Maya scrambled for something, anything, and her hand closed around a fire extinguisher mounted on the wall. With a desperate cry, she swung it down. Crack. The man collapsed, blood pouring from his head, body twitching once before going still. Silence fell. Everyone stared at the corpse on the floor, the reality of what had just happened sinking in. Maya dropped the extinguisher, hands trembling. Her breath came in sharp, shallow bursts. I didn't mean to. Daniel wiped blood from his mouth, eyes hollow. You didn't have a choice. The bitten woman sobbed harder, curling into herself. The others pulled away from Maya now. From Daniel too, their eyes wide with fear. The infected weren't the only monsters anymore. At 30,000 feet, the cabin had become a cage, one where humanity was rotting faster than the corpses outside. The cabin reeked of blood, sweat, and fear. No one spoke. The tall man's body lay sprawled in the aisle, and every breath felt borrowed, fragile. Then came the sound. A crack. The barricade splitting. Everyone's head snapped toward the cockpit door. The creatures outside had never stopped clawing, and now the wood and luggage stacked against it buckled under their relentless assault. Daniel's heart pounded. They're coming through.
No.
Hannah whimpered, clutching her knees. Maya looked at the bitten woman, whose sobs had turned to shallow gasps. Her skin was graying, lips trembling. It's happening, Maya whispered. The woman's eyes rolled back. Her body seized. Then she screamed, not human, not pain, but hunger. Chaos erupted. She lunged for the nearest passenger, teeth snapping. Blood sprayed as her jaws found flesh. Screams tore the air as survivors scrambled over seats, shoving one another, desperate to get away. Daniel grabbed Maya's arm, dragging her toward the rear of the plane.
We can't stay here.
The infected woman shrieked, tackling another man to the ground. Her claws raked across his face as he thrashed. More screams, more blood. Then the barricade exploded. The cockpit door splintered, luggage tumbling aside. Shadows poured in, half-rotted silhouettes, moaning, snarling, eyes glowing with hunger. The horde had arrived. Passengers stampeded, trampling each other in blind terror. The baby wailed, the mother clutching him tight as she fought through the crush. Lime, wild-eyed, yelled above the chaos, "Looks like the fasten seatbelt sign just turned permanent." His laugh cracked into a scream as a zombie lunged for him. Daniel didn't look back. He and Maya shoved through the crowd toward the emergency exit near the tail. The red handle gleamed like salvation. "Daniel," Maya gasped, "we can't open it up here. The pressure." "Then we wait until descent," he snapped. The plane jolted suddenly, throwing them against the wall. A guttural groan rumbled from the cockpit speakers. Captain Douglas. His voice slurred, wet, broken. Infected controls losing altitude. The intercom died in static. The plane tilted sharply, passengers screaming as they slammed into seats and aisles. Oxygen masks dropped, swinging wildly. Outside, through the tiny windows, only black sky and endless night. Daniel grabbed a mask, strapping it on. Maya did the same. Their eyes met, terror mirrored in both. Zombies clawed closer, filling the aisle. Their stench hit first, rot and bile. Fingers scraped at Daniel's jacket. Teeth snapped inches from his throat. Maya swung the fire extinguisher again, bashing skulls, buying seconds. Daniel kicked one back, ribs cracking beneath his boot. But for every one that fell, two more forced their way forward. The plane shuddered violently. Alarms blared in the cockpit. Altitude dropping.
Daniel!
Maya screamed over the chaos. "We're going down!" His eyes locked on the exit door. Salvation. Or death. Maybe both. He wrapped a hand around the handle, knuckles white. His voice shook but held steady. "Better out there than in here." Maya's lips trembled, but nodded. Together. The horde lunged, arms stretching, teeth gnashing. Daniel yanked the handle. The door blew outward with a deafening roar, wind exploding into the cabin. Everything not bolted down ripped free. Papers, luggage, bodies. Screams shredded the air as survivors were sucked into the night sky. The infected were torn away, flailing into the black void. Blood sprayed like mist, vanishing into the abyss. Daniel clung to the frame, every muscle straining, the storm of air threatening to rip him free. His hand slipped. Maya grabbed him, her grip iron strong. Their eyes locked.
Don't let go,
she screamed. The plane groaned, metal twisting, engines failing. A final lurch sent them both tumbling, their bodies yanked into the howling dark. The world became sky, wind, fire. Then impact. Epilogue sunrise. Wreckage lay scattered across a smoking field. Shredded seats, twisted metal, burned bodies. Silence hung heavy, broken only by the crackle of fire. A figure staggered out of the wreckage, bloodied but alive. Daniel. He collapsed to his knees, chest heaving, eyes red from smoke. A moment later, Maya crawled from the debris beside him, coughing, covered in ash. They looked at each other, stunned, alive, against all odds. Behind them, the plane's fuselage groaned. Shadows still moved inside. Some passengers had survived the crash, but their moans weren't human. Daniel grabbed Maya's hand. We keep moving. We don't stop. Not ever. The morning sun rose higher, casting light on the nightmare. The world wasn't safe, but they were still breathing.